Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a review of these Fortis Predator boxing gloves. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so today we have these Fortis Predator boxing gloves we'll do a close-up weigh-in and review on. Fortis is a brand based out of the UK that sells boxing equipment and apparel. And this is their newest glove that they've added to their current glove line. These Predators are designed, they're advertised to be designed in the UK, and these are actually manufactured in Mexico. They're a lace-up only glove currently, and is offered in 12 and 16 ounces with two different colors. This maroon that you see here, as well as a yellow. So looking at these gloves, you can see they have more of a compact feel to them, cut in that traditional Mexican style cut. They use full grain veal leather, and you can see the actual grain of the leather there. It looks really nice and has more of a satin finish to it. Not super shiny and not matte or dull. You do have that Fortis lion logo that's printed on the back. Then you do have this white flat cuff on the back right here with the Fortis that is stitched on with this little patch. It doesn't feel rough or anything there. It actually has a soft touch feel. The 12-ounce weight tag as well as the piping. And then you can actually see the inner liner. They used kind of that polyester nylon liner on the inside that's good at wicking away moisture. I'll show you guys a close-up of the cuff and the stitching. Stitching in some areas, you can see right there closer to the actual piping. Could have been done a little cleaner. You can see it's starting to come a little undone, but the double stitching in the rest looks pretty good. And just to show you guys the symmetry between the two, a little areas right here, you can see that the stitching could have been a little bit cleaner in my opinion. But the lines are all pretty straight, looks pretty good. One thing you notice too with the maroon color that I noticed started to bleed a little bit on the white. And so that's just something I noticed with the red dye, is that it started to bleed a little bit. And you can see here as well as on the thumb. And a little bit more of the stitching right there on the attached thumb as well. And you have about, I'd say, half-inch layer of medium density padding on the wrist that comes up here as well as on here. And about a half-inch of padding on the back of the wrist as well. That has a medium density. Attached thumb again. Ventilated holes on the thumb. And show you guys the actual padding density on the knuckle area. More medium to firm. It's not super soft. So it's definitely not a puncher's glove where you feel every shot come through. I'd say this polyurethane, the latex combination padding gives you more protection. Kind of like Grant's, where you feel like you get good pop, but you get a good level of protection as well. So it's good for all kinds of training in the gym, and you definitely won't hurt your hands. You can use these gloves with full power and not have any issues with injuring your hand or feeling any kind of pain around your knuckle. So let's go ahead and put this on the scale, see how much these weigh. These are 12 ounces again. Get my scale zeroed in. So start off with the right glove. The right is at 12.5 ounces. And the left is right at about 12.5 ounces. So about a half ounce overweight and almost true to size as far as both gloves being symmetrical to each other. So both 12.5 ounces respectively. So let's go ahead and do the review. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here. And today I'm going to be doing a review of these Fortis Predator boxing gloves. I got mine in the maroon and white color scheme, 12 ounces and a lace-up closure. Fortis currently makes this in both 12 and a 16 ounce weight, as well as only being a lace-up only glove. So they currently don't have this in a Velcro closure style glove, all that may change down the road. And two color choices between the maroon, and you can also get this in yellow. Now, Fortis is a company that's based out of the UK that currently sells different boxing gloves and apparel, and this is their latest addition to their boxing glove line. The Predator is actually advertised to be designed in the UK, but these are actually manufactured in Mexico, and you can definitely tell that it has that Mexican style leather. They use 100% full grain veal skin leather. Veal meaning that it comes from like a calf skin type leather, where it's a little bit softer to the touch And you can see design-wise that this has a more compact profile. Being a 12-ounce glove, very attractive looking. You can see that it has all maroon, and then the accent color being white to give it that nice offset in color. You do have this Fortis lion logo that is on the back of the glove, as well as this little patch that's stitched on the back of the wrist, which doesn't feel very, doesn't have any sharp edges to it. And I like what Fortis has done in terms of the design of the glove. They have their branding on it, but it's not overly done, and it doesn't feel like there's a bunch of graphics and logos that's thrown up all over the glove. Really simple and classy, which is what I like. You can see again, the logo, the back, and that's pretty much it. You do have the 12-ounce weight tag right here on the back. And you can kind of tell, if I were to compare this to any other glove, the cut of the glove definitely reminds me of the Casanova lace-up boxing gloves that I have, except a little bit more compact, but definitely reminiscent of the Casanova style gloves. You can see it has kind of the angular Mexican style cut with a nice parallel running thumb right here. And give you guys a close-up of the actual leather right here. You can see it has a nice texture to it. It does have a strong smell when you take these out of the box. You can definitely tell that they use that kind of that Mexican style leather with a really strong smell like you get with Reyes, Grant, and some of the other Mexican made gloves. But again, you can see the texture looks really good as well. Texture on the actual thumb. And it has a really good attractive look to it, which I really like. Now the quality of the glove is pretty good overall. I did notice that there was a couple of areas where the actual color or the dye from this maroon started to kind of bleed off onto the white. It doesn't affect the performance of the glove whatsoever, but just something I noticed with the actual aesthetics of the glove. And kind of give you guys a close-up right here. You can see kind of a little bit of the bleeding of that maroon color getting onto the thumb. Some of it bleeding off onto this white piping as well. And just a little bit of areas where the stitching could have been a little bit cleaner. Right here around the piping again. And this is just me being nitpicky. The rest of the piping looks really good, as well as the nylon stitching that they use is really nice and durable. You can see that it does have a pretty large size grip bar that's nice and dense, so you feel like you really wrap your fingers and your inside of your hand around that. And these ventilated holes as well. So stitching looks really good on that. Some of the stitching right here on the cuff near the laces right here could have been done a little bit better, and you can see kind of breaking through a little bit. Then you can see the actual piping around the cuff. You can see a little bit of the stitching kind of coming loose right there. Inside liner, they use a kind of a polyester nylon moisture wicking liner, which keeps your hands nice and cool. You can see that they use about a 1/2 inch of padding along the inside of the wrist as well as on the back of the wrist that has medium density to it. It doesn't feel super stiff, but it's not too soft as well. So it gives you nice support once you lace up these boxing gloves. You can also see that the gloves is pretty well balanced. The weight is distributed pretty nicely towards the front of the glove as well as towards the back. And a lot of that has to do with the structure of the glove, where they put the foam inside here as well as down into the cuff, so you have a nice balance on the glove. It's not too top heavy to where the glove really bends down and you feel like there's really no support along your wrist area. So they did a very nice job of actually distributing the weight and putting enough padding in your wrist area to complement how much padding is over your knuckle and the back of your hand. So overall, the quality is pretty good, save for a couple of small stitching issues, opportunities I have seen. The inside where the index finger meets the thumb looks pretty good, as well as on the edges right here on the side of the glove looks really clean. So the only areas I really found were right here along the piping, where you can see some of the stitching kind of coming out, as well as some of the bleeding of the dye on the white that came from this maroon color from the dyeing of this leather, or when they dye the leather to make it different colors. And some of the piping, again, the stitching could have been done a little bit cleaner. Now the comfort of the glove is probably the best thing about this glove, aside from the performance. When you slide your hand in here, it feels fantastic. You have a really nice hand placement. You slide your hand in here, it feels nice and compact. I'm more of a fan of compact style gloves. I just feel like when gloves feel like they're made for your hand. You slide them in there. Wrist support feels really nice once these are laced up nice and tight. Thumb placement is excellent, nice and parallel. You don't feel like your thumb is in a weird, awkward position or pulled out too far or too wide. There's enough room in the fingertip area right here to where I don't feel like my thumb jams whatsoever. And they give you enough of this piping space right here so that you don't feel like there's any pinching down on the bottom part of your thumb right here. So a lot of times you get gloves where it's too tight on the piping and you end up getting this pinch point that's kind of uncomfortable. especially when you have hand wraps on, that adds to the bulk of your hand, so that kind of pinches, and I felt like that was really good. Finger compartment is nice and deep. Spacing on the inside is perfect as well. It's not too crowded and not too wide, and it feels really good. One thing that I really like too is that they use kind of a piece of neoprene right here on the inside fingertip that's covered, so you don't actually feel the stitching. Sometimes Mexican gloves, I wouldn't say cut corners, but they just leave the stitching open on the inside of the glove right here. So when you curl your fingers over, you can actually feel the stitching against your fingers. Again, more of a comfort thing, but it's nice that they kind of advance on that and add that little piece right there, that piece of neoprene, to where you get a little level extra of comfort and more luxury inside the glove where you have your hand in there. And typically when your gloves are more, or should I say when your hands are more comfortable within the glove, then you're going to be more willing to use it for longer periods of time. You just won't feel that discomfort. One big thing I love about these gloves, and I know I said this earlier where I kind of compared it to the Casanova gloves, is that these are more compact. So unlike the Casanovas where I felt my hands would kind of jiggle on the inside, where I felt there was a little bit of a space between my knuckle and the inside of the striking surface of the actual foam on the inside, I feel like my hands is pretty well covered with this. I don't feel like there's a lot of budging on the inside, and I definitely like the fact that they did that. One thing I wish they would have done, maybe it was inside with the inside liner, maybe put a little bit more of a smoother liner around the knuckle area. And that's a little, maybe lined with a little bit of a softer foam. That way you feel like it's a little bit more form-fitting. But outside of that, it feels fantastic. Excellent thumb and finger position. You can make a really nice fist with these as well, which I really like. Now the protection and performance on these gloves is very well balanced. You can see that the glove density on here is more on the medium to firm side. It's not like a soft puncher style glove where you incorporate horsehair. This uses latex and polyurethane foam. So you get the balance and the protection that you want out of a little bit of a harder, more denser style foam, but I still get good crack on the bag or even on the mitts with these, which I like a lot. Kind of reminds me of Grants, where Grants are more forgiving on your hands, but you still have that layer or should I say that level of feedback that you want. So when you hit the bag, you get that nice crack. And a lot of that has to do with the style of latex they use, but the polyurethane they incorporate is nice as well. So definitely like that. You can see it has a really nice striking surface right there. I don't feel like my shots roll off the bag. I feel like I make good contact. I can feel everything with these gloves, and they're very comfortable. So, you know, protection, good shock absorption, kind of in the middle, right in the middle of the road on both ends. So if you're looking for something that you get good crack, or if you're looking for something that you want some good protection, you want a little bit more shock dispersion, then these gloves definitely fit the bill. Comfortable, and they perform really, really well. So I was really satisfied with these. One thing I hope they do is they offer larger sizes for those of you that might have bigger hands. Me having medium-sized hands, I feel like these 12-ounce gloves fit me pretty well. But once they come out with the 16s, for those of you that have larger hands, then those definitely will be more complimentary to you. Now, cost of these gloves are currently 170 British pounds. Converted to the US dollars here in the States, that's about $217. Now, keep in mind that's plus or minus, depending on the markets, how they fluctuate will determine the price, or should I say the conversion rate. So 170 British pounds to 270, which is 217 US dollars, which is definitely on the higher side. I definitely think these gloves are fantastic for what they are. I think it's going to be a little bit hard to compete because there's so many Mexican style brands that are either at that price point or lower than that. But I do, or will I say is that these are definitely more comfortable in my opinion than Reyes as well as Casanova because of how compact they are. And I like how they incorporated the smaller, there's little features like the neoprene on the fingertip compartment. You do have a nice parallel thumb. So the comfort and the layer of protection as well as the performance you get from these gloves are top notch. I just think price-wise, obviously that's going to be something, just depends on your personal budget. But if you're going to compare it to like a Casanova or Cleto Reyes, I personally like the way these feel a little bit more and the way they perform. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box and where you can find these Fortis Predator boxing gloves. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.